Hello everyone, thank you to be here. I'm the head manager of the psychological area for the youth sector in Bologna, and so I'd like to speak to you about our work in the youth sector, why a sports psychologist can help clubs in growing athletes. So we start from this important point. We can't pretend that we can say one thing to athletes and think that they all understand the same things when we are speaking to them. Why is this important? Because the education, the work as coaches we do with athletes cannot be only the transmission of information on the pitch. It's a lot more, because we have to develop their ability to think. It's more complex how we can do it, because some coaches think it's just about transmitting information and the development is done. It's not that this point, but it's how can I train my athlete during season in thinking about himself, thinking about knowing himself as an athlete, and how can I make my team know well his characteristics, his limits, his potential, because this is the point. If I want to make the difference in developing athletes, this is the point. On the other side, we will have a guy that executes. It's just executing orders and nothing else. And this is very limit thing. So this is the main point. Why is this important? Because the idea the athletes make about himself derives not by the evidence that we can observe on the pitch when we look at them, but it's about forming the idea of themselves, about the quality of the relationships they have with us, with coaches, with sports psychologists, with everyone in the club and in family. So this is very important, how we approach our athletes as executors or as something else, something more, someone that can think and have a good ability to think about himself. This is the point, because this work on self-esteem and the ability to be confidential with their abilities. So the athletes can then put it on the field and use it to make a good performance during the development of athletes. So how can we work with this? How can we work on this? The very important point is relationships. We work so much with coaches because coaches makes all the difference. How coaches approach the pitch, how coaches approach the work on the pitch and the teams and the athletes. So we have to work on people that stay around our athletes. In first place, we have the work on the coaches, individual work and group work with them, because we need to integrate educational aspects in the technical and tactical work that coaches prepare every day to apply on the field. So it's been done a lot of training with coaches, because they have to create an environment that is functional to really develop a mentality. How can we do this? Some coaches tend to fill spaces when they relate with athletes. tell what to do, tell what's the best way to do one thing. But this is not the most functional way to work with athletes. We have to learn as adults to free spaces for them. So maybe at the beginning of the season, we fill spaces, we give a lot of information to athletes. But going on with the season, what we have to do, what we need to do is to free spaces of ability for them, because they have to express themselves, not coaches. So I have to teach and then to free space, because they have to express, and I can observe what they have learned from my communication. So this is the real point, to teach coaches to free space of autonomy for the athletes. So I can let expression free, and they can feel free to make mistakes also, because this is so important when they are growing up. They have to be confident with mistakes, and the only way is to let them space to do mistakes and to do right things, functional things. And they have to be conscious of what is the mistakes and what is a functional thing that they have done on the field. This is our work, is to develop this ability to evaluate themselves as individual and as a team. So there are many manners on what coaches can do this. Maybe asking so many evaluation of the performance to the athletes, so they can get used to make questions themselves, can develop the ability to think about their performance and evaluate their performance in positive and negative things they've done on the field. This is an important way, as like the analysis of the match with the team. So we can think together at what we've done, what's good, and what's to get better in the time. This is some example of what we can do with coaches on the pitch to favorite this kind of evaluation, this kind of development. Another important thing is to work with athletes that have grown up. And the other one is to work with families, because families are so important for the kind of person the athlete will be in the future. So not in an individual way, because families are so much, it's impossible. But maybe about doing training sessions, training meetings with families. So we can give them instruments and functional elements to have relationships with their sons. And this helps so much also the club and the field, because coaches can't do anything with kids, with guys. We need the help of families, and this is the way is important to involve them in the right way. Not being an additional coach at home, but someone that can help us on speaking about, for example, emotions, and how they manage them, because emotions are very important when we think and talk about the performance. And growing up mean also learn to manage emotions to do the best performance we can do. So this is the important point. It's working on the relationships and on the quality of the communication we can use when we relate with the athletes. This is the more important point, because this is the more functional base we can create for them to grow up and be the best professionals they can do. They can be. So we are influenced not just by who we are, but by who we meet during our growing. I think this is the point, because we were talking about what's the factors in beginning a professionist, in becoming a professionist, of strong athletes. These is the factors. Those are the factors that are very important, and we can kind of controlling them, working on the quality of this factor. And we can do it this way. The sports psychology can help clubs in this way, working on the quality of what is proposed to the athletes on the field during many seasons, and this is so relevant for the growth of the athletes. I prepared just a quick presentation because I think it's important to let space to questions. So maybe let's space to questions.
Mr. Loris told us about the bad form with Bologna under 17. And could you please tell me how you implement the winning mentality into your players at early ages? Is playing for fun is the most important, or trying to win is the most important, or are they equal?
I think that when we talk about ages between 6 and 11, the fun is the most important thing, because it gave intensity automatically to kids. Then I think it's important that winning mentality is something that comes with time and with a certain way of working with athletes. So maybe from 12, 13 years old, we can work with them on focusing on the quality of the performance, no matter if I lose or if I win, in terms of what we have done. It's what I was talking about before. So no matter if we win or if we lose, what matters is how we play on the field, because this is controllable by athletes. Winning or losing is not controllable, because it not depends only on us, but also on the opponents and other factors that I can't control. So this is the focus to maintain during the season when we work on athletes, not just the result that is a consequence and is something that I can work with athletes when they are older, so maybe after 11, 19 years old, okay. But the very important point is that they grow with this focus. Also, coaches have to have this focus, and it's so hard. Focusing on quality, because if I win playing in a wrong way, it's not value. And I have to transfer this to athletes, because this gives stability to the valuation they can give themselves. I win, I'm the strongest. I lose, I'm not the strongest. This is not stability. I can't control this kind of valuation, so I can't base seasons of growing on this kind of thinking, because it's unfunctional. So the point is not winning or losing, but what can I use this game for the training of the next week? Thank you.
Hello. You mentioned that you work basically with all stakeholders, parents, coaches. You as a chief psychologist, to put it that way, how much effort and how much work do you put with the individual players, or do you rely mostly on the coaches being prepared to work mentally and psychologically with their children?
So it's important to work with the coaches and families from 8 years old of the athletes for families, I think until I speak with families until 18 years old, under 18. I work hardly with all coaches of all categories. Working directly with athletes become important, I think about from 12 years old, because this is the age in which they begin to feel different when they perform. So anxiety comes. And so it's important to begin to work with them, training on emotions, how to manage with them as a team. So we work with them as teams. If, we do work teams, and this is until 16, under 16. Then it's useful to do individual work with them, because then they need an individual approach based on their characteristics. So they can ask us to work with me, or I can propose them, depending on the situation, on the moment of the season. But this is the work, how we do it.
Okay, Paola, thank you very much.
Thank you.